Now it says, is there any sudden acceleration during OB and BC? First, we need to check whether OB and BC is achieved or not. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna turn this trend channel. Okay, there is actually no OB and BC observed. Right? We do not have any OB and BC here. Okay, now this is wrong. Sudden acceleration, no. No OB and BC observed, no sudden acceleration. Got it? What happens during AR? Now you see this is the last high. What happens during the AR? The spring forms. Okay. What is the spread and volume of the climatic bar? Yes, this is right. But all these three criteria must fulfill. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay, and you can see that this is occurring within a trading range. Now, if I go to the 3-minute chart and define my trading, now you can see. This is a very, very usual chart. Okay, so this is not, this is actually what? If all of these three criteria disqualify, this is jump across the creek. So this certain volume on a 3-minute chart, you can say this is what? This is JAC. Am I right? Because it's breaking from the last high, there is no overbought. There is no overbought achieved. So this is JAC. So this is what? Reaccumulation. Right?
Yep.
And this is what? It's spring on the reaccumulation. You can see the volume. The volume is increasing. You can see. And so we go up. Right? What happened? This is again jump across the creek and then secondary test. Test of this is LPS. Last point of support. And last point of support comes on what? On what bar? What kind of bar is this? Effort versus no result. Am I right?
Yep. Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Now, if we go further up, what happens during this process once we go further up? Okay, this we have already covered, I guess. Now let's go further down. Okay. This one. This is reaccumulation. Am I right? Accumulation. Okay. SOT is achieved. First, second, and third. SOT is achieved. Reaccumulation, and this is jump across the creek. Right? So when this is a jump across the creek, then this cannot be what? This cannot be distribution. Am I right? Okay. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Okay. Now we have several kinds of reaccumulation structure. The same thing will apply to redistribution. Okay. So it's just the opposite. Got it? If we have overbought and to the upside, then for the accumulation process, we will have the oversold and selling climax. Okay. The criteria are same. Okay. So for the accumulation, there are several patterns. Okay. Reaccumulation. Hello. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay.
I'm here.
Okay. For example, you will see this kind of pattern during redistribution, very common. Right? As I told you, higher low, higher low, higher low. Right? Now we call this pattern as volatility contraction pattern. Okay, because the volume and each of this on each of this point, as the price is making higher lows right over here, volume will reduce, volume will reduce. Got it? Now let me show you. For example, this one here. You see here, we have low, higher low, higher low, higher low. What happens to the volume? Volume is reducing. Volume is further reducing. Volume is further reducing. Am I right?
Yeah.
And what we are observing, this is volatility contraction pattern. And then on the breakout, what will happen? The volume will increase. Okay. On the down move, once we observe the down move here, the volume will reduce. Okay, as compared to the initial volume, the volume will reduce. Okay, as compared to the initial volume, the volume will reduce. And then the volume will reduce. Here as well, volume will reduce. And as we break out, the volume will increase. Okay. So this is a kind of, this is how this is a way to identify whether it is redistribution or distribution or accumulation. Got it? Now you see here, this one. Okay. Okay. Now see this part here. Okay. We have good volume, just average volume. Okay. Volume little bit increased here. Okay. And as we go down here, you see to the downside, to the upside, the volume is reducing. The volume is reducing. Got it? On every upside move. And we are making lower highs. And at the breakout, volume increases. Do you understand?
Yeah.
This is volatility. This is known as so this is actually what? This is not reaccumulation. Sorry, this is not this is actually a redistribution process. Okay. Now here. Okay. If you compare this pattern here. Okay, you see here. Now this is a second kind of pattern. Okay, the second kind of pattern is like this. Okay, this is the first pattern. The second pattern will be like this. You will see a consistent volume here, a range here. Okay, this range would be, as I told you, this would be JAC, jump across the creek move. And then you will see this kind of range. And after range, the price will just form a spring and move up. Got it? So we call this pattern as, yeah, we call this pattern, this specific type of redistribution is known as shakeout pattern. The price is consistent. We have a bullish power here. Okay, the bulls are in control, and then suddenly there's a spring which shakes all the sellers, and then the price moves up. Got it? As we saw in this situation, you see very consistent volume, nothing. Then there's a spring here. After spring, what happens? The price moves up, and you can see as the price breaks through this part, we have an increasing volume to the upside as the price breaks. So obviously, this would be what? Jump across the creek, right? And This would be LPS, last point of support, right?
Yeah, correct.
Correct. Okay. Now see this pattern here. A very, very important pattern. You see, the price is coiling up. See, jump across the creek move, jump across the creek move. Okay, JAC move. It's breaking the last high. JAC move. Okay, and what do we see? The price is just moving very, very narrow, right? And then what happens suddenly? Because if it was a genuine buying climax, if it was buying climax, the price would heavily come down. Am I right? Rather than just moving in a very small range, right or wrong?
Right.
Right. And then what we see here spring pattern. Okay. And then the price moved up. Got it? Now here, the price is coming down. Okay. And what do we see here? The price is just moving consistently up and down range. And then we see up thrust. This is a shakeout pattern. Price went down. Right? Okay.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Now the third pattern would be the third pattern for redistribution would be like this. You see an uptrend here, then the price will start moving down like this. Like this. So either we will see SOT here, okay, shortening of thrust, or we can also see this situation. Minor oversold. Got it? So these are four patterns: volatility contraction pattern, shakeout pattern, we call it as flag pattern. Flag pattern. Now, if you see, this is a flag. You see? If you see, then this is a flag, a kind of flag. Can you see? Am I right? This is a flag, a kind of flag.
Yeah.
Like if you see the flag pattern, the shape of the flag, that's why we call it as a flag pattern. Okay, and the price will move up. And then here we can either observe SOT pattern or we can see a minor oversold pattern. Okay, in the flag pattern. So you will see these three kinds of redistribution pattern. Okay, now let's see. This is what this pattern is. Flag pattern. Am I right? And then what do we observe here? We see SOT pattern here. Price breaks up. And as the price breaks to the upside, what happens? Volume expands. Right? Hello, are you there?
Yeah.
How about this pattern? The price moves up here. What do we see here? A flag pattern. Am I right? If you see, this is a kind of flag. A
Yeah.
flag pattern. Right? And then what do we see here? Spring, oversold. A minor oversold, and then the price moves up. Got it? This is redistribution. Here as well, what do we see here at this point? Again, a flag pattern. And what happens? Oversold. A minor oversold and price moves up. Redistribution pattern. Okay. How about this pattern? This one. You see, the price makes what? Higher low. This is what? And as we come down, you see volume is first one, then volume is a little bit decreased, then further decreased, then further decreased. Got it? This is what? VCP pattern, volatility contraction pattern, right? On the third point. So this one, and this third point is the entry point. Afterwards, no result. Got it? The price goes up. Here as well, what do we see? A flag pattern, right? A flag pattern. And after that, what do we see? The volume expands. On the breakout, what happens? The volume expands, right?
Yeah.
Got it?
Right.
Yeah. Now you would say the same thing. Oh, this can also be a flag pattern. Okay. Yes, this can be a flag pattern, and this was a flag pattern actually. But if we draw the line and structure here, we observe what?
Overbought.
Overbought. Does it make sense? So yes, you can trade this pattern, but you have to remember that if you take this trade, you have to keep in mind that you should not hold on to this trade for longer. This buy trade. Got it? Yeah. Now what happens if you see this distribution structure, the major distribution structure? Can you see the volume here? Huge volume. This one here. You see the volume here, small, decrease in volume, right? On this top, decrease in volume. On this top, again, decrease in volume. So this is volatility contraction pattern. Can I say this? And we observe what? Lower highs. This is VCP pattern, a bigger VCP pattern. Got it? So this is actually distribution. So distribution can also, we can have a VCP pattern even in the distribution. Okay. Now let me show you some more. Yeah, what do we see here? A very, very small pattern here. Let's say flag pattern, breaks down, volume increase. Okay, test here. Afterwards, no result, we went down, right? Flag pattern, right? Inverted flag pattern. This is actually a flag, right? How about this move here? What happens? A very, very fair. Okay. So we have a spring here, a test of spring here, and then the price moves up. And what happens with the volume during the break here? The volume is increasing, consistent volume, right? Increasing volume. Okay. Now, how about this? This is a flag pattern. How do we know this is a flag pattern? See here. See, right? And we call it as SOT. First point, second point, third point. First point, second point, third point, SOT. And then we have a volume is increasing on the breakout. So this is VCP. This is actually a flag pattern. Redistribution flag pattern. How about this one? Huge volume on the top. Okay. And then what do we see here? Volatility contraction pattern. Now, if you compare this whole entire, okay, let's suppose this is first high. You can see every time you see this high, see this high, see this high. So highs are, we are making lower highs, right? And what happens to the volume? Decreasing, decreasing, further decreasing, right? VCP pattern, right?
Yeah, right.
Got it? You see, you will see this kind of pattern. So if you go on, if you say like this, okay, this is a point that we can trade. We can put a first trade over here. This is also overbought. Okay, then this is a second point to trade. the third point. Okay. And you see here, the fourth one. What happens to the fourth one? Further reduce in volume, right? Further reduce in volume. Can you see? And what happens to the what happens to this down move? Increase, increase, increase. Okay, this down move, increase. Can you see? Can you see? Right?
Yep.
Okay, now just compare this one here. This is what? A flag pattern. And what do we see here? Up thrust, overbought, minor overbought. Price went down. Make sense?
Yes.
Right. So this, if you compare this one here, this is first low. This is second low. This whole second low, and this is third low. What happens every time? You can see it, compare the volume. See the down wave. Decreasing volume during this process, decreasing volume, VCP pattern. And what happens? The price moved up during this VCP pattern. Okay. Now you see this part here. First, volume decreased. Second, volume decreased. Third, volume decreased. Can you see? VCP pattern, price moved up. So I will also record a video for you explaining the entire distribution, like how to. So I will give you all of the blueprints so that you can learn them, right? And you can apply. Now, what was your next question? Bias, right? Okay, bias. We just identify the bias by, let's suppose, a 15-minute chart. Where was my London Open? My London Open was this one. Okay, 12, right? So as I told you, if you are trading a London session, just mark this line, vertical. The London Open was here. This one. Okay, so just before this, what was and how about the overnight high? The overnight high was from here, the lowest point. Okay, and the highest point was this one, right? Okay, can you tell me what is a bias? What is a position? Is it uptrend, downtrend, between overnight session high and low? Can you tell me? How is the price moving? Uptrend, right?
Yep, that's right.
So bias one, bias number one. Sorry. Bias number one is uptrend between overnight high and low. So what is bias? Can you tell me? Bullish. Okay, this is our first bias number one between these two parts. Bias number two. Now, how is the price acting? Okay, now we go to the 5-minute chart time frame. We further define it. Okay. Just before the London Open, what do we see here? If you draw the channel, what do we see here?
Oversold.
Oversold plus selling climax, of course. A huge selling climax here, you can see. And then secondary test. This should be AR, right?
Yep.
And finally, this should be jump across the creek, JAC. So The JAC is observed just before London Open. So bias number 2. Before London Open, what do we observe? Accumulation. Am I right?
Reaccumulation, is it?
Yeah. Having accumulation. Okay, we have a reaccumulation, of course. Yeah. Of course, reaccumulation. Marked with JAC. Right? So what bias do we have right now? Both bias are what? Okay, so first bias number 1 will tell you what is the bias between overnight high and low. And the second bias should be what happened before London Open. So both bias are what? Can you tell me?
Bullish.
Bullish. So this one, bias 1 is the long-term bias. Bias 2 is the short-term. Both short-term and long-term is bullish. So what is the overall bias? Bullish. Make sense? Now,
Yeah.
just before London Open, we go here. Now, as London opens, the London opens right over here. We have a jump across the creek. The London opens right over here. And what happens during the London Open? You see? Okay. If you draw this line, the last high here, this is London Open. The price is closing where? Now, this is AR, right? Okay, AR. The price is closing where? Is the price closing on the AR line, this line? No. So we cannot take the entry over here, right? The price must touch this line. This is our reference point because this is AR. Got it?
Okay.
Okay. If this is a reference line, then the London Open is exactly over this point. Okay. And we have what? The price is closing off the lows, huge volume, effort versus no result. But this effort versus no result does not come on this reference line. So we will ignore it. So we will wait. The price comes down. Again, huge spread, volume is reduced. And this one, a smaller volume and a slightly higher volume over here with a smaller spread. Effort versus no result. So this is our point where we can place a trade. Got it? But the thing is, if we place a trade right over here, what will be our last low? This one, right? So just this one, last low. Got it? And this should be a target. Make sense?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Now, as we broke the, so this is what happens during between, what happens at, what is the bias at the overnight high? Bias over here. The bias between overnight high and low is bullish, but how about at the high? The bias at the overnight low is bullish because you see it's bullish. The bias between overnight high and low is bullish. How about the bias at this one? At the overnight high. This is what? This is what? Reaccumulation. Am I right?
Yeah.
Reaccumulation process is observed between AR and overnight high. Am I right? So the bias is what? The bias is again bullish. Got it? So as we breaks above this line, you can see the increased volume. right? And what do we see here? A small one here, right? What do we see here? A range here, and then this is first low, this is second low, right? Volatility contraction pattern. Third one, resolve is spring. Volatility contraction pattern right over here. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah, good. Any do you have any problem so far?
No.
Okay, so what do we have to observe? We have to see the bias between. So what is we have to see what is the trend between overnight session low and overnight session high. First thing, if it's uptrend, the bias would be bullish. The second thing, you need to see what is the bias just before. What is the bias at overnight session high, low, and what is the bias at overnight session high. At this time, we knew that the bias at the overnight session low was bullish, but at the overnight session we did not know, right, yet. But now go to the second point. Before London Open, what do we have? We have a reaccumulation process, right? So the bias between, so the bias just before the reaccumulation process, what bullish, am I right? And after this AR, we can also identify the bias of this bias at overnight high. So this is reaccumulation process because we have a jump across the creek after AR, right? After AR, jump across the creek. So the bias is bullish between overnight high and this one, right? And as the price breaks it, so we know that this is a bullish bias. Got it?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's go for another one quickly. London was open right over here. I think this we have already done, right? Okay. How about the overnight session high and low? This is high, overnight session high. This is overnight session low. So what is happening between overnight session high and low? How the price is moving, uptrend. Am I right? The price is moving up,
Right.
uptrend, right? So bullish bias. Okay. How about just before London Open? The London Open was here. What do we observe here during London Open? Overbought. Oh, sorry, oversold. So the bias is bullish. Am I right?
Yeah.
And how about this one? This is JAC, right? So this is overnight high. How about the bias at the overnight high? If this is JAC, again bullish, right? Got it? Got it? Got it? Because if this is selling climax plus oversold, this is AR, this one over here, this one is secondary test. Okay, this is JAC. Okay, this is what? Spring, right? So can you tell me the bias here once we cross this line here?
Bullish.
We have J, so it's bullish, right? So at the overnight high we have bullish. At the overnight low, what do we have here? Spring here, right? This is at the overnight low, it is bullish. At the overnight high, it's again bullish. Between overnight high and low, it is bullish. And how about during London Open? during London was open right over here. We have oversold. 5 minute. We go to the 5 minute and see quickly. The London was open right over this point. Okay, right over this point. And we let the price move down and it becomes oversold. Goes up here. So the bias become what? Bullish, right? And if we redefine the channel here, let's suppose if we redefine the channel here. This is London Open. London Open, right? At London Open, what do we see here? Huge volume down and the price keeps on going down. So the thing is, can we take this trade here? London Open here. You see, the price goes down here. Got it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Then now we have to wait. Now at the London Open, we cannot do anything. Okay. We have to wait and wait until the price climaxes. So we did not get any trading opportunity here because we don't know whether the price will reverse or will further go down. The price went down and down and down. What happened? We have a AR here, the first reaction, and then now we can make another channel as the price is going down from here to here. Okay. Now you see this is first channel, this is second channel, and you see a clear oversold. And London was open right over here. Right? Do you agree?
Yep, I agree.
Okay. And then we have a sudden acceleration to the downside. This cannot be oversold. Why? That's why we have to draw another channel from here to here, a second channel, because this cannot be oversold. Why? Because we do not have a sudden acceleration, but here we have a sudden acceleration, huge spread, huge volume. And then this is AR, automatic reaction, secondary test, spring, after spring, this is what? JAC. Got it? Now, how about the overnight high? Now the price just breaks through this. Okay, got it? The price breaks through this process, and then this is a jump across the line, right? On the 5 minute chart. And then if this is a jump across the creek, then we can say at the overnight high, the price would be what? Bullish. Do you understand? We take a trade right over here. Got it?
Yeah, okay.
Okay, so now we will continue. Do you have time in the evening? I'm saying, do you have time in the evening? Hello, are you there?
Yeah. Now it's 2 o'clock.
12,
3,
11, 2 o'clock.
Okay,
I mean,
let me
9
think.
o'clock. Yeah.
Mm,
Or what I can do,
Give
if you
me-
don't
give
have
me-
time, then I can just like make a video by myself and then give it to you, explaining
let
this
me-
entire. Mhm.
Yeah, let me text you. Let me text
Okay,
you.
okay,
Let me
sure,
check
sure.
my schedule.
Okay, okay, sure. Okay, bye bye.
All right. Bye.